MJF and Samoa Joe are set to defend the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships next week against some mystery assailants from the Devil in All Elite Wrestling. Plenty of details on that, plus Mercedes Mone, her asking price to return to WWE or sign with AEW has been revealed, and in fact, it's larger than Charlotte Flair's recently signed new contract, which was one of the largest fees and sums to ever go to a woman in WWE history. More details on Rey Mysterio's new contract that he recently signed. We've got the latest results from the Continental Classic tournament that took place last night on AEW Dynamite. MJF goes face-to-face with Swerve Strickland for the first time. WBD, that being Warner Brothers Discovery, and Paramount could be set for a huge merger. What effects is that going to have on the world of professional wrestling? Christian Cage addresses kind of the challenge by Adam Copeland recently for AEW World's End. Chris Jericho confirms Kenny Omega's indefinite absence from AEW as he deals with diverticulitis. Toni Storm and Riho is set for the AEW Women's World Championship for World's End. We got the ratings for this past week's edition of NXT on USA Network. Plus, the Slim Jim WWE car has been stolen. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start off talking about the Devil once again in All Elite Wrestling. And this time, could the Devil and his mystery associates be wearing championship gold this time next week? MJF might be AEW World Champion, but he still has responsibilities as Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion. He promised his injured partner that he would continue to defend the titles alongside the AEW World Championship #1 contender Samoa Joe. On AEW Dynamite, MJF was goaded into defending the ROH Tag Team titles by the mysterious devil figure who sent his goons to attack MJF and Samoa Joe and then challenged MJF to a tag title match. MJF accepted and will defend the titles alongside his #1 contender, World Championship contender Samoa Joe on next week's edition of Dynamite, much to Samoa Joe's chagrin. The devil figure, of course, has been attacking MJF since before AEW Full Gear in November, with fans no closer to finding out the mysterious figure as they were initially. This time, as opposed to the usual 4 to 5 attackers, the devil sent a myriad of combatants whom MJF and Samoa Joe were forced to fight off. Of course, MJF is also set to face Samoa Joe on December 30th at AEW World's End, just days after the upcoming Ring of Honor World Tag Team title contest. MJF has been the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion since AEW All In, where he and Adam Cole defeated Aussie Open in the 0-hour pre-show to grab the gold. However, of course, Adam Cole's been injured since AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, smashing his ankle, and MJF has defended it either with Samoa Joe or by himself ever since. We've got footage from last night's angle in question. Take a look and let me know your thoughts about what occurred.
Remember, MJF, he's still one half of the...
So, what are your thoughts on the angle? Do you think we'll finally find out the identity of the devil? Are we going to find out the identity of the devil next week or possibly at World's End? Do you think this angle has jumped the shark a little bit as well? What are your thoughts on all of it? Is it overshadowing the AEW World Championship main event at World's End as well? Let me know your thoughts on all of it in the comments section below. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Mercedes Mone recently when it comes to if she's going to be going to All Elite Wrestling. Reportedly, plans that were working plans between the two have reportedly, I guess, fallen apart or are no longer in place. There's been some rumors, some reports she could be headed back to WWE now that Charlotte Flair is injured. Well, we've got a bit more of an update when it comes to her asking price and possibly why both companies are struggling to secure the former women's champion right now. An update has been provided on former IWGP Women's Champion Mercedes Mone's asking price amid WWE and AEW speculation. With Will Ospreay officially signing with All Elite Wrestling at Full Gear, the eyes of the wrestling world have turned to Mercedes Mone as one of the most sought-after free agents currently in wrestling. Now, recent reports have indicated that AEW's working plans for the former Sasha Banks are no longer active, while WWE does have an interest in bringing back the multi-time Women's Champion. As previously previously reported, details on the latest backstage notes in WWE and AEW in regards to Mercedes have been revealed. On the December 20 edition of Fightful's The Hump, Sean Ross Sapp reported that the word within the industry was that Mercedes Moné's asking price was above what he heard Charlotte Flair received on her new WWE contract. On December 19, Fightful revealed that Charlotte had recently agreed to a contract extension with WWE that was described as, quote, one of the highest paid deals to a woman in WWE history. During her time of New Japan Pro Wrestling, Mercedes Moné was reportedly one of the biggest per appearance deals for a Gaijin star in that company's history. New Japan Pro Wrestling is still hopeful about bringing Mercedes Moné back to the promotion when she is recovered from her injury. It remains to be seen which company Mercedes Moné will appear for next as of this recording. Of course, if we get any more information on this, we'll let you know. But what are your thoughts on Moné's asking price actually being above what Charlotte Flair recently just signed? And that contract alone was one of the highest paid deals to a female in WWE history. Do you think WWE will be willing to pay that amount to Mercedes Moné? Do you think AEW can even afford to or be willing to pay that amount of money to Mercedes? Is she worth that amount? Let me know your thoughts, as always, about that. Speaking of contracts, bit of an update on Rey Mysterio. He recently signed a new deal, and we now know how long for. On December 18, Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer reported that Mysterio had signed a new contract with the WWE. Per Nick Hausman of House of Wrestling, Mysterio's new deal is a 3-year agreement with the company. Despite the fact that Mysterio is currently injured, it is reported that he intends on wrestling for the entire length of his new contract. Now, the Hall of Famer was sidelined in mid-November and will reportedly be out of action for up to 8 weeks. The injury was explained on television, with Santos Escobar officially turning his back on the Latino World Order and attacked Mysterio on the November 10 edition of SmackDown. Mysterio last wrestled in a loss to Logan Paul for the United States Championship at Crown Jewel last month. Now, of course, this is quite significant because Rey Mysterio had previously suggested that he would wrestle until he's 50. He's currently 49, so this would take him past that date. So maybe Mysterio has had a change of heart and he does plan on wrestling for the entirety of his contract. Now let's talk about the AEW Continental Classic, because we saw the conclusion of the league phase of the Gold League last night, and certainly it's very interesting stuff. The inaugural Continental Classic rolled on with a trio of Gold League matches Wednesday night on AEW Dynamite, with Jon Moxley already having clinched a spot in the league final before the action began. Opening the show, we saw Swerve Strickland try to avenge his loss against Moxley last week. Of course, he faced off against Rush, and he got a much-needed win over Rush to also secure his place in the league final as well. Roos kicked out of at the count of 1 after a 450 splash from Strickland, firing up for a flurry of strikes before Strickland regained his composure and earned a victory with a Swerve stomp, as I mentioned, cementing his place in the final. Now, next up was quite an interesting contest because we saw Mark Briscoe and Jay Lethal face off, with both men looking for their first win in the tournament and being unable to qualify for the championship rounds. With pride alone on the line, Briscoe prevailed, hitting the Jay Driller on Lethal to finally get into the tournament win column. After the match, the two combatants shook hands in a sign of respect. Finally, this is where things got very, very interesting in the tournament. Jon Moxley would take on Jay White, who with a win would pull even with both the unbeaten Moxley and Strickland to make the Gold League final a triple threat match. Throughout the match, White would attack Moxley's left knee, including a direct chair shot on the outside of the ring, while the referee was distracted. With the draw doing him no good and the time limit looming, White took advantage of a hobbled Moxley, escaping the Death Rider and finishing Moxley off with the Blade Runner. With the Gold League final now set, Swerve made his way out from the back to stare next week's opponents down. As he did, White also took one more cheap shot at Moxley's knee for good measure, rendering the Blackpool Combat Club member potentially hobbled heading into next week. Now, we can actually get the scores up on the screen right now, and as you can see, we now have the final set for the Gold League next week. Moxley, Strickland and White finished the round-robin part of the tournament with 12 points each. Rush finishes with 6 points, Briscoe with 3 and Lethal with 0. The Blue League final will be determined on Saturday's episode of AEW Collision, which features Andrade El Idolo, currently on 9 points, facing off against Eddie Kingston, currently on 6 points. Bryan Danielson on 9 will face Claudio Castagnoli, currently on 6. And Brody King will face off against the eliminated Daniel Garcia. Brody King is currently on 6 points, whereas Garcia, as I mentioned, is already eliminated undefeated with the total points of 0. No victories thus far. And as I mentioned, next week we will have the Gold League final of the Continental Classic on the New Year's Smash Show. It will be John Moxley facing off against Swerve Strickland and Jay White, the winner of which will go on to World's End to face the winner of the Blue League. That will be determined on next week's episode of AEW Collision as well. Where do you think this is going? Who do you think is going to win the Gold League? Who do you think is going to win the Blue League? And who do you think is going to win the tournament overall? Let me know your thoughts about that as well. Speaking of Swerve Strickland, he faced off against MJF, possibly giving a bit of a hint as to what's to come for the AEW World Championship. Swerve Strickland has finally come face-to-face with MJF on last night's edition of AEW Dynamite. In a rare on-screen interaction, AEW World Champion MJF came face-to-face with Swerve Strickland as the latter secured his spot in the Continental Classic semi-final. MJF told Swerve Strickland that he wasn't on his level, and without his theme music, he lacks star power. He also referenced their shared past in the independent circuit, where they used to be road trip buddies, which Strickland then recalled fondly as MJF being his chauffeur. With Swerve going on to tell him that he wasn't in fact the devil, but if MJF continued to flash his title in Strickland's face, he'd be sure to bring the champion to hell. The tense moments continued until MJF stood alone, facing the entire Mogul embassy, who stayed in the locker room doorway until Samoa Joe joined, directing the champion away. So, possibly, could we get Swerve Strickland versus MJF in the future for the world title? We'll have to wait and see. Now, this is a very big story that looks to be possibly affecting AEW, but maybe even WWE as well, if recent rumors are to be believed, and it regards Warner Bros. Discovery and Paramount. The future of wrestling at Warner Bros. Discovery was already uncertain, with the media company said to be negotiating with both AEW and WWE regarding the promotion's respective TV rights. But all of that may now be thrown for a loop thanks to a potential merger that could shake up the entire entertainment industry. Axios is reporting that WBD is currently in talks to merge with Paramount Global, with WBD CEO David Zaslav having met with Paramount CEO Bob Bakish earlier this week to negotiate a merger. The meeting, taking place over several hours, appeared to be fruitful as Zaslav and Bakish discussed many facets of a potential merger, including merging their respective streaming services. It was further noted that discussions are far enough along that WBD had, quote, hired bankers to explore the deal, end quote. Now, should a merger between WBD and Paramount be complete, it would create one of the largest media conglomerates in America, up there with Disney. How this would affect AEW's standing with WBD or potential negotiations between WBD and AEW or WWE remains unclear, but of course when it came to WCW and Time Warner and AOL and all that kind of stuff, certainly mergers can change the entire directions of the company, and it may have possible ramifications for AEW or WWE in the future. If we get any more details on this, of course, we'll let you know in the future. Now, we're still waiting on an official acceptance from Christian Cage when it comes to Adam Copeland's challenge for World's End, and we got a bit of an update last night on AEW Dynamite. Christian Cage did not appear live. He instead issued a prepared statement to be read by Tony Schiavone, with Schiavone delivering the message, reading from the note on the entrance ramp that he reported that he was instructed to read the words verbatim. Christian Cage reported that he will make his triumphant return on this Saturday's episode of AEW Collision. He will address Adam Copeland's challenge for AEW's upcoming pay-per-view World's End at that time. After Copeland was screwed in Montreal after a big interference secured the TNT Championship victory for Christian Cage, he wants a rematch. Having challenged Christian Cage to a no disqualifications match at World's End, now fans will continue to wait for Cage's response until Collision. Signing off the message as the patriarch of AEW, Schiavone was done reading the statement, and Cage's music hit as the crowd provided the appropriate boos to the cameras. So we'll have to wait until Saturday to find out if that match is going to be confirmed for World's End. Now, speaking of confirmation, we got some confirmation on Kenny Omega's status. Obviously, it was reported and revealed last week that he's going to be out of action indefinitely. Chris Jericho appeared not only to share well wishes to top star Kenny Omega, but also share with the fans more details. Jericho confirmed Kenny Omega's diagnosis of diverticulitis, as well as noted that Omega would be out of action indefinitely. Allowing a moment for the crowd to acknowledge Kenny by chanting his name, Jericho also informed that the plans for the Golden Jets were currently on hold. The pair were set for an AEW Tag Team Championship match at the upcoming pay-per-view AEW World's End against champions Ricky Starks and Big Bill. No replacement match for World's End was announced for the champions. Also sharing his well wishes on social media after the segment, AEW CEO Tony Khan responded to the announcement saying, quote, "Get well soon, Kenny Omega," as Jericho said perfectly moments ago on AEW Dynamite. all of AEW and the legion of fans all over the planet want Kenny Omega to get well soon. Of course, if there's any more updates on what the plans are for Jericho, Omega, and the tag team titles in the match at World's End, if we get any more details than that, we'll let you know. Now, speaking of World's End, a title match has been confirmed for the pay-per-view when it comes to the Women's World Championship. The first ever AEW Women's World Champion is heading to AEW World's End, and she'll have the chance to regain that title from timeless Toni Storm. During Wednesday's edition of AEW Dynamite, Riho defeated Saraya in a #1 contenders match, landing a pair of running double knees in the closing moments of the contest. Following her victory, Storm got up from her position at the commentary desk to confront Riho in the ring. The champion mockingly employed a pair of opera glasses as she stared Riho down, while Riho momentarily got the upper hand over her with an attack. Mariah May clocked Riho from behind with the belt her idol holds, though Storm didn't seem terribly appreciative. Riho became the inaugural AEW Women's Champion after defeating Nyla Rose on the first ever episode of Dynamite back in October of 2019, but was later dethroned by the Native Beast a few months later in February 2020. In the year since, the intermittent AEW stars challenged Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter for the title, but failed to regain it on both occasions. As of this recording, only a couple of other matches have been announced for World's End. MJF putting the AEW World Championship on the line against Samoa Joe, the finals of the Continental Classic, that being the winner of the Blue League and the Gold League facing off. This women's title match, it's assumed that it's going to be Adam Copeland versus Christian Cage, but of course now that tag team title match involving the Golden Jets, Big Bill and Ricky Starks is now off, so we're going to have to wait and see for more matches to be announced for the show. Switching gears here, let's talk about NXT and the ratings for Tuesday's episode on USA Network. Of course, this was taped last week. After a strong stretch in the fall that came complete with a new TV deal, it's been a cold winter for NXT thus far, with main roster stars like Becky Lynch and Dominic Mysterio appearing less and less. The show has dipped back into the 600,000s as far as total viewership and below a 0.20 in the coveted 18 to 49 demographic. That was a trend that unfortunately didn't break for the promotion this week. WrestleNomic reports that Tuesday's episode of NXT drew 641,000 total viewers and a 0.17 in the 18 to 49. The numbers were down from the previous week, with total viewership dropping 5% from last week's 678,000 viewers, while the 18 to 49 was down 6% from a 0.18. The number was the lowest total viewership for NXT in 2 weeks, the lowest 18 to 49 rating since August 29, which drew a 0.16. In a bit of good news for NXT, the show did experience growth in the 18 to 49 after quarter hour 1 and 2. The show drew a low 0.15. The show would peak in the 18 to 49 in the overrun, where the controversial injury angle involving Ilya Dragunov and Ridge Holland drew a 0.20. During the regular portion of the show, 18 to 49 peaked in quarter hour 5, which drew a 0.18 with 240,000 viewers, narrowly beating out quarter hour 7, which drew a 0.18 but only 239,000 viewers. The same growth was true for total viewership in the first half, with quarter hour 1 opening at 647,000 viewers and later rising to a show high of 687,000 in quarter hour 5. From there, however, the show would decline, later cratering with a show low of 587,000 viewers for quarter hour 8 for a Tiffany Stratton promo and the beginning of the Dragunov Holland match. The overall number would be helped by the overrun, which drew 677,000 viewers. Finally, in a bit of strange news, the Slim Jim car somehow has been stolen. How? I don't even know it's possible to steal this and remain hidden. Nevertheless, earlier this year, the WWE SummerSlam Slim Jim Battle Royale winner LA Knight showed off a brand new custom Slim Jim Nissan Z sports car. Unfortunately for fans of finely tuned Japanese automobiles and spice beef sticks, the car has been stolen. According to PR Newswire, the car was stolen somewhere in Los Angeles during a custom video shoot. This does not appear to be a promotional stunt, although there is a related hashtag in the hopes of finding the stolen vehicle, as anyone with any knowledge of the whereabouts of the promotional car is being told to contact LAPD directly. VP and General Manager Snacks at Congra Brands, Ashley Spade, said that Slim Jim is working closely with law enforcement and that the brand was surprised by the theft. Quote, "We knew we had something special with our custom car, but had no idea it would be in such demand that someone would steal it," Spade said. Now, Knight won the right to be the face of WWE's lucrative partnership with Slim Jim at SummerSlam, winning a Battle Royal and going on to star in WWE-themed ads that aired on the company's programming, even driving the car into the Rosemont, Illinois All-State Arena before Survivor Series War Games. WWE's partnership with Slim Jim was set to last until WrestleMania 40 in April, with more Slim Jim cross-promotional content possible for the upcoming Royal Rumble as well. The sponsorship is one of many that WWE President Nick Khan has been touting as he tries to make the newly merged company appealing to advertisers. So how this is stolen, how it would be hidden, I have no idea, but let me know your thoughts about that as well. But there you go, guys, the latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.